Hello children, welcome back to your science class. You all know you are going to give your first periodic test online in the coming week. For that, let us have a quick revision for the chapters of your first periodic test. Fiber to Fabric is the third chapter of in your NCERT science textbook. We have already learned a lot of facts regarding fiber to fabric. Let us revise the main points which we have already discussed earlier. In this chapter, you have learnt about wool and silk. In your previous class, we have revised till the topic wool. The points we covered are what is wool, animals that yield wool, the process from fibers to wool, which included rearing and breeding of sheep, the step-by-step processing of fibers into wool, and a lot of scientific terminologies in this process. Today, let us study and revise the topic about silk in this chapter. Let us proceed. Silk fibers are animal fibers, and the process of obtaining silk or rearing of silk from silkworms is called sericulture. Here is the image of the life cycle of a silkworm, where the female adult silk moth lays eggs which develop into larva, which later weaves itself into pupa. This pupa covers itself with silk fibers, and this covering is the cocoon. The further development of pupa into a moth occurs inside the cocoon. The further development of pupa into a moth occurs inside the cocoon. Here is the description about life cycle of silkworm, where female silk moth lays hundreds of eggs. Just now we have seen the life cycle in a brief. Now let's see it with a proper description. So the female silk moth lays hundreds of eggs. These eggs develops into larvae called the caterpillars or silkworms. These worms grow into size to form pupa. The pupa covers itself with silk in the shape of figure 8. This covering is called cocoon, which is of protein. These protein silk threads. These silk threads are made up of protein. The cocoon is covered with these protein silk threads covering. The pupa inside the cocoon develops into moth or silk moth. The covering or the cocoon possesses a bundle of silk threads over it, which is used for weaving silk cloth. The silk reared is obtained from different cocoons, and it is spun by different types of moths. They are tussar silk, muga silk, kosa silk, etc. The most common silk moth is mulberry silk moth that feeds on mulberry leaves. In India, sericulture is a very old occupation. Lots of women are involved in these silk industries. The silk fibers extracted from cocoons is raw silk, and that is processed into silk fabric. China is among all the countries of world that leads in silk production, which is followed by India and the many other countries. Now let's recall the rearing of silkworms. As we have just seen the life cycle of silkworm, hundreds of eggs laid by adult female silk moth, and these eggs are stored carefully on cloth or paper strips and sold to silk farmers. Now these eggs are given or provided with suitable temperature to hatch into larvae. This is seen when there is a good yield of mulberry leaves or the leaves the larvae feed on. The type of the silk worm, the leaves favorable to it that they feed on. Mostly we are here discussing about silkworm that feeds on mulberry leaves, and these larvae, which are the silkworm or the caterpillars, vigorously feed these leaves and grow in size. These huge size larvae are now kept in clean bamboo trees along with freshly chopped mulberry leaves. As we said, they feed on these mulberry leaves. And these larvae stop eating after 25 to 30 days and move into tiny chambers of bamboo trays. They get attached to the twig and form cocoons, and they develop into moths inside them. Now let us see how the silk is processed to form fabric. The silk fibers are extracted from the cocoons, they are exposed to heat, and the silk is reeled. This process is called reeling of silk, which is done on special machines. The silk fibers extracted this way are spun into silk threads and later woven into silk fabric by weavers. So that is the chapter 3. We have completed chapter 3 revision, and before proceeding to the next chapter, let us see what are the types of questions that come for your exam, for your first periodic test. So here first let us discuss the paper pattern. There is no typing required, children. All are multiple choice questions, and the paper is set for 20 marks. And the type of questions that come for your exam are here listed here. Choose the correct option, fill in the blank type questions, identify the picture type questions, label the part type of questions can come in science, true or false type of questions, identify the proper sequence type of questions, and identify the correct statements type of questions. Let us see few examples of these type of questions. But remember, children, the examples we are going to see here are just for your idea. These are not the direct questions that are going to come into your exam. These type of questions are just for your idea, so that you will have a clear picture that a question of this type may come in the exam. Choose the correct option. A question will be asked for which you have to select the correct answer from the options. An example is given here. Like, it is just a simple question: from which animal silk is obtained? If you know the right answer, you have to pick the right answer and choose the correct one by clicking on it. The next type of question is the fill in the blank type of question, where the question with the blank will be asked and you have to choose the correct answer from the given option which fits the blank. And here are few examples of that type of questions. Silk was first discovered in. This For this, there are few questions where you have to go through the full chapter in the textbook, because any type of question from anywhere from that chapter can be asked. So here silk was discovered in, there is a blank. If you feel the correct answer is China, you can click on it and that will be recorded as your answer. And the second type of question is the same like the fill in the blanks type question. Here are the examples only for your idea. Next is the identify the picture type of question. A picture will be given and a question related to that picture or to identify the name of that picture type of questions will be asked. And here is one such example. So like just now we discussed, we are discussing about the silkworm. So here is the life cycle of one animal and the question here is, the picture is life cycle of which animal? You have to choose the correct option. This is one type of question. It is identify the picture type of question. Next is the identify the correct sequence. You have to do is to identify the correct order or proper sequence of the given question. And here is one such example where to identify the life cycle of silkworm is asked. You have to choose the correct sequence from the given options. Next type of question is the true or false type of question. You will be given one question. You will be only given two options. One either true and the other one is false. You have to choose the correct option for the given question. That is whether it is true or false. We'll discuss the other type of questions in the next chapter also. So now let's revise the topic about heat. It is chapter 4 of your NCERT science textbook. Let us proceed. Today we are going to revise the points we learnt about, and the topics today we are going to revise in this chapter are hot and cold and measuring temperature. Hot means having high temperature, having the sensation of heat or burning, and hot also means the body temperature exceeding normal temperature or the sensation of uncomfortable degree of body heat. That means the temperature of any substance that is usually higher than its normal temperature is called hot. Next is cold. Cold means relatively low temperature, mostly compared to human body temperature. Cold can also be a cold weather or cold environment. So cold is the temperature usually below the normal temperature. Now let's see what is temperature. Temperature is the reliable measure of heat or hotness of an object. It is measured by a device known as thermometer. So measuring temperature, how are we going to measure the temperature, whether it is hot or cold? So thermometer is the device used to measure temperature, and the thermometer used to measure the body temperature is called clinical thermometer. Now let us recall what and how a clinical thermometer is constructed. First, it is a long, narrow, uniform glass tube. It has a bulb at one end which contains mercury. It is a liquid metal. And outside the bulb is a small shining thread of mercury. And the scale on the thermometer is Celsius scale, written with degree symbol and capital C after the unit is mentioned. We usually use the unit degree Celsius or degree Fahrenheit. And a clinical thermometer measures temperature between 35 degrees Celsius to 42 degrees Celsius. Now let us recall and revise how to use a thermometer. Till now we have learned the construction of a thermometer, means how it is designed. Now we'll see how to use it. The temperature difference between the two bigger marks on the scale is 1 complete unit or 1 unit. Usually on a scale you see smaller marks and bigger marks. Same it is seen on a thermometer. The scale shows the bigger marks, where two bigger marks units indicate 1 unit. And the number of divisions usually are 5 smaller marks between these two bigger marks, and they measure 0.2 degrees Celsius each on the thermometer. Continuing with the how to use a thermometer, what you will first do is, while using it, you will first hold it firmly and give few jerks so that the mercury level should fall below 35 degrees Celsius. Now we'll place the bulb of thermometer under the tongue for 1 minute and take it out to note the reading. The reading will be the body temperature mentioned in Celsius degrees or Fahrenheit degrees as unit of temperature. The normal human body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius, but it could be slightly higher or slightly lower. The clinical thermometer is the device used only to measure human body temperature, as the human body temperature does not go below 35 degrees Celsius or above 42 degrees Celsius. Hence, the scale is also constructed or designed with the same units on the thermometer. Now, what are the precautions to be taken while using a thermometer? Let us recall them. It should be washed before and after the use, and it should be washed with an antiseptic solution. Before using, you should make sure that the mercury level is below 35 degrees. That is why we give few jerks to it, so that the mercury level falls below 35 degrees Celsius. You know, we should hold it straight while reading the thermometer after we take it out from the tongue. And we keep it straight because to see the mercury level is balanced. And the other precaution is, as it is made of glass, it should be handled carefully to avoid breaking. And never ever we should hold the bulb of the thermometer, as it will change the reading of the temperature. And coming to its storage, keep it or store it in closed or dark places rather than near heat. So there we complete the topics hot and cold and measuring temperature. Once again, let us recall the type of questions that are coming for the exam. And you all know it is no typing MCQs type of question paper, and it is set for 20 marks. And just now we have seen the examples for choose the correct option, fill in the blank, identify the picture, label the part is not mostly we didn't discuss that, true or false, and identify the proper sequence type of questions. So you have already seen those examples for the type of questions in the previous chapter. Those are the examples discussed there, and there are certain choose the correct option type of questions also that which we have not discussed there. We'll see that type here in this chapter. Again and again I am mentioning that the questions here we are discussing are the type of questions going to come for your exam. Don't mistake these questions for to come into your exam, or do not think that these type of questions which we discussed in that particular chapter will be only coming. Any type of question from any chapter can be coming, but these are the type of questions that are going to come for the exam. The type of choose the correct option type of question we did not discuss in the previous chapter are this type, where you will be asked a question, you have to choose the correct option. But in the options, sometimes you will find two correct options. In such cases, there will be another option mentioning both the correct options. You have to choose that option to give the correct answer. So this is one such type of choose the correct option type of question. Now coming to the identify the correct statements type of question. You can understand in that sentence only that you should identify the correct statement, where few statements will be given as questions, and in the options you will be asked that either 1 and 2 is correct, 2 and 3 is correct, or 1 and 3 is correct, or all the above are correct. You have to analyze the question properly and then answer it. Remember students, all these examples are just for your idea that these type of questions will be given in the question paper. Not directly these questions are going to come. And so here we end today's class, and let us see more revision and the type of questions in the next revision class. Thank you.